Have you ever been told that you overpronate when you run? What's up? This is Greg with sportsrehabexpert.com, and today we're going to answer that question, if it really is that meaningful for your particular scenario. So pronation and overpronating gets a lot of flack in the rehab industry as well as the running community. A lot of people will throw out words such as your arch is collapsing, and you're going to need an orthotic to help support that foot. Now, I thought of this idea to talk about this concept recently just because of the Olympics that are currently going on and watching video a lot of the athletes and the runners performing. And what you'll notice as you watch athletes, and we're throwing a couple videos up here so that you can see it too, is that every single one of these athletes pronate. Now, the significance to which they pronate may vary depending on the individual and the race that is being performed, depending on the individual's ground contact time. Now, the faster your ground contact time, the less pronation you should actually see.
Now, the two videos that are up here on the left-hand side, you'll see two women sprinting in the 4x100 meter relay. So a 100-meter dash, these athletes are moving at top-end speed, and you're going to see very minimal pronation, a very slight twitch. Now, sometimes you'll see differences right to left, and that's perfectly fine, perfectly normal to have a little bit of an asymmetry. Obviously, running around the track, always turning left, has a little bit to do with that too. On the right-hand side, you'll see the world record holder for the 400-meter hurdles at the very end of his race. And again, he's going to be getting tired. He's still moving at a very fast pace, but he's getting a little bit tired, getting a little bit more towards the end of his race, and you're going to see his ground contacts being a little bit longer, and thus, again, you'll see a little bit more pronation occurring. Now, somebody who's moving slower is going to land a little bit more on the midfoot as opposed to the ball of their foot, and as a result, someone who's moving slower, you tend to see a little bit more pronation occurring because it's longer ground contact times and they're landing more on their midfoot.
Now, the faster your ground contact time, the less pronation you should actually see. This is why one of the reasons that many people talk about increasing your cadence can be useful to help decrease pains such as Achilles tendinopathies, shin splints, knee pain, plantar fascia pain, hip pain. Now, because your foot will experience pronation and your foot is going to experience a certain amount of load going through those tendons, that's why it is extremely important that you perform a baseline level of strength and conditioning and capacity development to your tendons, such as the gastroc, such as the soleus, such as your posterior tibialis, such as your tibialis anterior. These are muscles that you're all going to want to emphasize in your training, because it's going to help you develop the resiliency in your foot, in your plantar fascia, and in your arch to help maintain a better position and avoid pain while you run. Now, contrary to what your podiatrist will want you to believe, not speaking for every podiatrist, some are good that are out there, but contrary to what your podiatrist wants you to believe is that you need to rely on a shoe and orthotic to solve all your problems. Realize the arch is a muscle, and your muscle is involved of a significant amount of joints and muscles in a very small area, because just like your hand, the foot should be very dexterous and capable of achieving many different shapes, meaning that your foot is stuck in a pronated foot 24/7, likely that isn't going to feel very comfortable. Or if your foot is stuck in a high arch position 24/7, that likely isn't going to feel very comfortable 24/7. But given the circumstances of the situation or the context of the activity that you are performing, you need to have the capacity to be able to supinate and pronate your foot effectively. Now, certainly this comes through exercise, but it's also important to look at an individual's running technique and how they accomplish their stride, how they accomplish their foot strike, and how that influences the arch position as well. So it's not enough just to look at strength and resiliency and developing strength and capacity in those muscles and in those tissues, although that is probably the simplest solution for the majority of people, is to get stronger, more endurance, more range of motion, and strength through that range of motion. But in many instances, we'll also then want to be able to carry over those concepts into optimizing your technique so that every step you take is more efficient and working to your advantage, as opposed to every step you're taking being inefficient and to a certain extent problematic.
Now, just to give you a visual again of what the ideal would be and the many different variations you may see from it. Again, we're always working towards ideals, but realize it's never going to happen 24/7. Now, the ideal scenario would be this 4x100 meter relay woman from USA with a baton. She has a nice foot strike where she lands on the outside aspect of her foot. She rolls around the foot, but you'll notice the foot goes from the supinated or high arch position to more of a foot flat position, ending in more of a neutral-ish ankle joint position, meaning she's not excessively falling inwards. Now, again, excessive is not a objective measurement, so you're always making a judgment call given the context of the situation. They're given race, they're given task activity that they're performing, or they're given pain situation. So she lands on the outside aspect of her foot, she rolls around the foot, finishes with a slight toe in and a heel away position, and you notice a nice smooth spiral happening around the foot every single strike that she takes. If you look to her competitor, which is on her left-hand side, you'll see a little bit more of a toed out position and a little bit more of a dive inward of the inside ankle bone. Again, not knowing the context of the situation, this isn't necessarily a bad thing either, but we could definitely make the argument that it's becoming a little bit more excessive. Now, the individual you see in the middle picture, this is at the end of a 400-meter hurdle race where there's a significant amount of fatigue that is happening while still operating at a very high foot speed. Obviously, you're going to expect some form and technique breakdown. This is, again, why you need resiliency, because inevitably this position likely is going to happen if you're pushing your body to the limits. Now, if you're not pushing your body to the limits, or you're just going out for a leisurely run, then you probably should have a little bit more control over your mechanics. And then finally, the individual on the right, same race, same 400-meter hurdle race, still same ending point of the race where there's going to be a lot of fatigue happening, but we could argue there's a little bit better management of the foot position. Still striking on the outside aspect of his foot, still moving around his foot, finishing through the ball of his foot as his heel is moving away, still getting the spiral action to occur without an excessive diving inward of the joint. And even though the foot does dive inward, he is able to manage it well and still be able to achieve that nice spiral position of outside aspect of the foot rolling through the forefoot and finishing with that heel away position. So in summary for the video, what you want to be working on is number one, the strength and resiliency of your foot and the muscles around the foot to develop multiple shapes, both the pronation and the supination shape, as well as developing strength in these outer range positions, because it is inevitable that you are going to find yourself in some of these positions as fatigue takes on. But if we think about improving our cadence and improving our foot strike position, then we can also extrapolate that into improving one's running efficiency, which will also do you good long term if your enjoyment is running. Now, if you're a runner who is currently experiencing any type of pain or discomfort, we have a workout that is designed specifically for you. And we can also meet one-on-one to go over some running technique and running form and drills that you can do to help solve these issues. And if that's something that you would like, feel free to email me at greg@sportsrehabexpert.com, and we're more than happy to help you out.